with Woody when she was like 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I found all these old tapes. They're great.
Yeah. Yeah, Leo, in case you didn't know, I've been digitizing a whole bunch of these things for Jennifer. And
I've been listening to it, and they sound good.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, anytime you're ready to roll tape, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, you... It hardly says roll file. I don't hear myself anymore. No, all of a sudden I'm gone.
I can't hear you either.
I didn't do anything. Yeah. I hear, there we go. What in the world?
There's a gremlin in the building.
The gremlins are in the building.
Hello.
Let's get started while we can. So if you'll roll file, we'll do this. Let me know when it's rolling. Welcome to the edition 5 of the SLOBcast. My name is Rick Wrigley, and we're going to be talking with some people that we're all worked with or are family with, Woody Wyndham. And we're going to start off with Jennifer Wyndham.
Hey, I'm Jennifer, Woody's daughter.
Yep.
Hunter Herring, Woody's afternoon guy, nighttime guy.
And?
Hal Von Nessen, and I worked with Woody long time ago when he was, I guess, we both just started.
You were the first one of this group that worked with Woody, and then I came along in 65. I think you were there in 62. 62.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I don't look that old. But my dad had to drive me to the station to work. That's true. I was 15 when I started.
You sound like Johnny Ellis over at WNOK.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's start with the family, and just give us some of your memories of your dad.
Well, I was going to say you didn't introduce Uncle Leo.
I didn't introduce. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that, Leo.
It's okay. It's not the first time in my life I've been forgotten.
Well, you weren't in the room to remind me you were here. So
no, I'm here and I can be here.
Yeah. So Jennifer and Leo know Woody the best. So let's go ahead and start with Jennifer and Leo about some of their memories of their brother and their father.
I think we'll start with Uncle Leo.
Uncle Leo?
Go first.
Yeah.
Okay. My memories of Woody. A long time ago, I remember him getting into radio when he was here in Darlington County. He went over to WDAR in Darlington and lied about the fact that he used to work at the Big Ape in Jacksonville. They put him on that afternoon, and he never had any experience. And from then on, he was a radio announcer. So, anyhow, Woody and I worked together a long time. I guess about probably over 30 years. Rick, you'll remember this. I used to come to Columbia when you were on WCOS as Johnny Fox, and I would sit in the morning show with Bob Fulton and Woody, and I finally ended up going to University of South Carolina. I decided that running the control board for them was a lot more fun than going to that 8 o'clock class.
Oh, anything's more fun.
So I decided, a lot more fun.
Yep.
So I decided to get into radio. So anyhow, I already miss Woody. And I know everybody does.
Yeah.
But he was a one-of-a-kind type of person.
I think most of us actually owe our broadcast careers, commercial broadcast careers, to Woody. I'm looking down at Hunter and Hal. And
in fact, Hunter, you can tell me if this is the truth. I think Woody hired us the same day.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same day, but I know it was right around the same time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And then Hunter went down to WKYB, and then he came back to WCOS, and I went to WKYB, and I ended up back at WCOS. But I always knew I kind of wanted to work with Woody. And Woody's dream, by the way, was to do a two-man show, a Wyndham Brothers show. We finally ended up doing it. And without a doubt, the most fun I ever had in my life.
That's when you created Beach Billy, isn't it?
We did. He was a... in fact, I hate to admit this, but Beach Billy was 3 times more popular than I ever was.
But wait a minute.
I think they even had a Beach Billy clothing line, didn't they, Leo?
They absolutely did. Belt sold it for a while, and which I never made a penny on that.
I was about to ask who made money on that.
Leo,
Woody
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I remember Woody, who thought an awful lot of you, and Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Before you came up here to Columbia, you played football in your hometown?
I did.
Yeah.
I was the center for Suggs.
Pardon me?
I was the center for Tommy Suggs.
Okay. Well, I remember you got selected to some sort of a all-star type something or other, and Woody came in one day and he says, we're going out to the Carolina Stadium. I don't know what it was called back then. But you evidently played in some sort of an all-star game, and Woody would have nothing, but I had to go with him to watch you play football.
Yeah, and that was the end of my football career.
Yeah, but I think you starred that day. At least that's my story.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
sticking to it.
Exactly.
Jennifer, you used to go in and sit in with your dad when he was doing radio.
I did.
I remember a tape that you gave me that we were digitizing.
I
Were you
did.
like 3 years old or something?
I was 5 years old at WNOK, and I went to B106, and pretty much every station he ever played at, I think I was there.
So you also did the Beach Boogie and Blues stuff down in Charleston?
I did. I loved the Breeze. That was my favorite of all the stations he ever played. By far the best music.
That was, that stuff, that music just really was Carolina, as in the beach and all that. So, yeah. So
Yes.
that station the first one was actually in McClellanville, I believe, and then there was another one down toward Beaufort Way, and that started the
Yep,
network, and
did.
then it grew all over the state.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite memory of your dad?
Oh, man.
I know, threw you a curve,
There's
didn't
so
I?
many. My favorite would probably be all of our times playing. I was his roadie on the road when he played weddings and parties and all kinds of events. But there were several parties that he just made so many people happy that he came up with his slogan, which was the best party you ever had, which was not grammatically correct. But he loved it and had to put it on his logo.
So, did you do things like with the Diamond Disco and the other kind of?
He did. I was too young for the Diamond Disco, but I do remember going there at least once or twice because I remember the checkerboard floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hunter, did you ever go to Diamond Disco, or was that when you were working somewhere else?
What was the question?
Did you ever go to Diamond Disco? Or
Oh, yeah, sure. Diamond Disco, we did remotes from the radio station. I don't think that may have been right after Woody was doing it, but during the disco time, we had jocks go out there and do live broadcasts for 3 hours.
Oh, really? You ever play
And-
YMCA?
And it was good. It was live radio on site in a disco, and it sounded great, and we were pretty excited about it. It was a good show.
The Diamond Disco wasn't the only thing that Woody did club-wise. He also did another one, Supper Club of.
The Wyndham Brothers Supper Club.
Yeah.
And then he opened a teen disco. I'm pretty sure Uncle Leo knows all about that.
And
It
now,
didn't last long.
Leo,
didn't you say that about a lot of things that you and Woody did together? It didn't last long.
Probably so. But yeah, the disco thing. He's always on the cutting edge. He was the first in town to open a big disco. The Wyndham Brothers Supper Club was way ahead of our time. We had a supper club which we knew nothing about, by the way, but we had a country music band out there called the Capital City Cowboys, and every one of those members went on to Nashville to become, not big stars, but famous musicians in Nashville. So, yeah, Woody was always on the edge.
Cowboys and steak, if I remember, was the idea behind the club. And now you have the club that Jennifer, you're running right now.
Yes.
You and Mackenzie are running
The Woody
club.
on Main.
Yep.
Hmm.
How is that going?
It's going okay. It could definitely be better.
I look at when you post lunch. I'm
Yeah.
going, I got to go down there and have some lunch.
I wish more people would come for lunch because it is really good.
Yeah. But I think when we were down there for the special party you had for Woody after his funeral,
Yeah.
I was amazed at how many people down there and all the memories they had.
Yeah.
Of
There were actually more people, I think, at the Woody than there were at the funeral.
yeah.
Pretty sure.
But I was surprised at the number of people and the people I did see from Lexington County show up at the funeral.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised at all. He had a lot of people that just loved him to death.
Mm-hmm. So I guess one of the questions was things that may have happened around. I remember a story. This is something I didn't actually see happen, but it's been told to me by a number of people, including Mike Rast, that one of the disc jockeys brought in a Beatle wig, and they had set it on top of the equipment rack that was next to the big turntable, the number one turntable. And they were trying to break Mike Rast up and getting nowhere. And Mike kind of decided to come in and make a comment, and he put his arm up next to the Beatle wig and just gave Woody the look. And then he turned around and walked out and knocked the Beatle wig down onto the turntable that was on the air. Yeah. So the story, as I remember, of course, Woody was a tall guy. He was,
6'4".
6'4", and he was very thin in his younger days.
Yes.
And I remember the story about him reaching for that turntable, jumping out of the chair because he stretched out the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other stories about, I remember just sitting in the back of the studio with Woody and while he was doing a show and learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
During those days.
Leo mentioned going down to Hemingway. I left COS to do my first programming job in Hemingway. And the last day, Woody had all these, he must have had 15 or 20 characters that he did. And he came
R.D.
in
Nick.
after every song that I played of the last day I was on the air there and did a character. And even got to a point where, he was physical with me, slapping me around and stuff, but it was pretty funny because Orville Carswell,
Oh yeah.
I can't think of it.
Bessie Mae Mucho. Bessie Mae Mucho. She was the cleaning lady.
But he when I came to Columbia, he was the guy. You two were the guys that I first listened to at night when I came there.
Doing Doug Broom's.
And from Doug Broom's restaurant. And, of course, Woody was the star of the show back in those days. And fast talking. And, I'm not talking too fast, you're listening too slow was his mantra. And he taught me everything I knew about the business as far as, because I copied everything he did. He was like, this is the guy I want to be. Yeah. And I was him when I got there, screaming, which he did. And that's what I did. And he told me one time when he started doing the morning show, he didn't use headphones. We had the Maggies on the side, and the speakers were all he needed. He would turn them up so he wouldn't get any feedback, and he made me do my show like that. I said, Woody, because I blasted my headphones out. I turned them completely as loud as.
How many headphones did you blow up?
Well, he actually started that listening with Bob Fulton. Fulton would come in and do the show at, 7 o'clock in the morning, doing that morning show?
He was supposed to be at 6, but he'd come in around 6:40 for the first sportscast.
Yeah, and I did the all-night show, and I'd get the first hour with Bob.
Me too.
And Bob would come in that extra studio and turn that Conrad monitor that was out in the general area, turn that sucker up as loud as he could without getting feedback, and then he'd go on. And then Woody would come in and take over, and I'd go home, go to bed.
Yeah. Boy, those were some interesting times back in those days.
Interesting ways of doing broadcasting.
Leo?
I think we'd be making a mistake unless we talked about the Woody with the Goodies Hopperoonies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He started those things and made them. They were teenage dances, no alcohol. I know that because I was young enough. I sold the cokes, but he brought in some amazing talent to Columbia. And I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but usually the person who was coming to town, whether it be Billy Stewart or the Tams or Steen, who did Sha Na Na Na, Hey Hey, Kiss Him Goodbye. that song would almost always end up number one on the charts that week. I never could figure that out.
Oh, my.
But and in particular, I remember one where he had Spider Turner on the top floor of the parking garage on Assembly Street, and then he had the hangar out on Bluff Road. He brought in the Allman Brothers when they were known as the Allman Joys. I think there were about 50 people that night, and the next year they were headlining the Byram Pop Festival outside of Atlanta with 500,000 people there. You had them at the Shrine Auditorium out on in St. Andrews, and just a lot of good talent would come to Columbia, and it was good, clean entertainment.
Leo.
So, anyhow, the Woody with the Goodies, Hopperoonies, they were successful, to say the least.
Amen. I remember one big crowd for Peaches and Herb. We brought them in 1968. And I remember I can't remember, Hunter, if you were with us at the time or not, but we were all, Bill Alexander, Woody, and me, and Scotty Quick, were all on stage behind Peaches and Herb, and we were trying to do doo-wop moves while they're singing. And Herb turned around and looked at us and said, "You guys are terrible."
And Scotty Quick tried to do.
Scotty Quick, yeah.
Well, one of my great memories, and I know Leo's too, is he got sick one time, had to go to the hospital. I forget what the problem was, but during the time he was in the hospital, he wrote Turkey Man.
Yes.
Who, Turkey Man was kind of it's a kind of a takeoff on Chicken Man, who was a national thing.
That Chicken Man was syndicated.
Turkey Man, he made it local in Columbia, and all the DJs had parts in it. It was like a radio play.
Yeah, I got some Turkey Man on tape. I'm going to have to find it.
Yeah, and it was fun to make, and people actually looked forward to it, to listening
but
to
it. Was insane because we packed like 6 or 7 people into the production studio and yelled our lines at each other across the microphone out in the middle of the room.
Yeah, he did. He was very creative. Chicago came to town. They put their first album out, Chicago Transit Authority.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do some promos using, because there's, the music they did was a lot of riffs, a lot of trumpet, a lot of drums, and he produced up a whole series of station promos using that album. So when they came to town, every song they played, it was like listening to a WCOS commercial,
Leo, he also did the same kind of thing with the Beach Boogie and Blues, did he not? I remember, at least he was doing club dates and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. The Beach Boogie and Blues thing, I'll go along with Jennifer. That was my favorite time to be in radio. We'd get off the air in the morning, and my jaw's hurt from laughing so hard. But we were also playing the kind of music that we really, really loved. And had a great time doing Beach Boogie and Blues. The station was started, you're right, in McClellanville. It was licensed to McClellanville, but served the Columbia area. Served the Charleston area. I hope you can hear my dog.
Yeah, I hear it.
So anyhow, then we had a station in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and one down in the Hilton Head area, which serves Savannah, and then we also had a station in Columbia. So we called it the Breeze Radio Network. And it went well for a little while, but I think Frank Baker finally ended up selling it. So that was the end of that. But we were there, I think, almost 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, and it was very popular. I remember everybody was talking about Beach Boogie and Blues. But nobody's ever successfully done that format since you guys did it.
Well, they have a station in Myrtle Beach, and they have 4 or 5 online stations. I apologize for my dog, y'all. Can you hear her in the background?
Yeah.
Just wants to get in, that's all.
Yeah, she has some memories,
Lucy,
too.
you just want to be part of the show?
Lucy wants to be part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the Beach Boogie and Blues thing was a lot of fun. Also, our days at WNOK FM when we did the Wyndham Brothers show, we started the Wyndham Brothers show at WCOS FM, and then we revived it at WNOK FM playing contemporary music. And as far as I know, that was our most success as far as ratings went. And you can talk to Bill McElveen. They certainly made a lot of money on the Wyndham Brothers show.
Oh, yeah.
And and it was pretty popular to say the least. Had a lot of fun on that show too. A lot of laughs.
Hey, Leo.
In fact, everything we did was a lot of laughs.
When you did the show on WCOS, was that before or after it went from alternative to country?
Well, Woody actually changed it to alternative. And Rick, you'll remember this. WCOS FM used to be a Girard turntable in the back of WCOS AM studio.
I remember that.
And you'd have a stack of Mantovani records back there.
No. They were classical music records.
Sunday night
Bobby
classical.
Lambert would pick those out.
The Sunday night classical
That's right.
show. And what was crazy...
And then every now and then, Mr. Dr. Uray would call from the University of South Carolina. I think he was the only person that listened, and he and Bobby Lambert. But Dr. Uray would call and say, "You need to walk to the back of the studio and turn the records over."
Which was crazy. Now, to kind of set this up the way it was, this turntable was in the back of the studio and we fed the B side of the
board,
the Western Electric 25B board that we use for AM on the A side. So we had AM on the A side and FM on the B side on Sunday nights.
That's right.
And I remember every now and then when I was first doing weekend shifts, I'd be doing the rock and roll show on the AM and accidentally forget I was doing the FM show at the same time, flip the microphone to the FM and say, "We're rocking and rolling, baby." right on top of Beethoven or Bach or somebody.
So anyhow, Woody decided one day, he went to Mr. Buck and he said, "Look, let me go over to the FM and turn it into an underground FM station," which he did. And that went for about 12 months before they decided there was only 2 head shops in town that would advertise with them. So in the middle of the night, I remember talking to Woody. He went from Led Zeppelin one song to Conway Twitty to kick it off on the next thing. And within about a year and a half, WCOS FM we were just rolling. And something you may not remember is there weren't what they call FM penetration in the market. In other words, hardly any of the cars had an FM radio in it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we literally went out to the car dealers and begged them when they ordered a car from Detroit to make sure it had an FM in it. And we gave them free remotes, and we sold these little FM converters for, I think they were like $21.
Yeah, I had one.
And we would install it. And what happened within a year, WCOS FM and Columbia had probably the highest FM penetration than any market in America. But we got out and worked it. So COS FM was a lot of fun too. Again, I keep using the word a lot of fun because you guys you know the truth. The only reason we got into radio was to have a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It seemed like, Jennifer, that when your dad did something, he went in all in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always about making it work. And
He always said if it was easy, anybody could do it.
yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Yes.
I remember one thing I loved about working with Woody was when he would review the songs that all the record reps would send in, and we would collect them and go into the production studio, and Woody would sit there and play maybe the first 14 seconds of the song, and if it didn't get him, it went zing, and it went right to the grab bag. Remember the box in the back? So, this just reminded me of a song that debuted at #1 on the WCOS Top 60, Top 40 at that time. I Can't Hide It.
Oh.
Woody and the Goodies. Remember that song? It sounded like Mitch Ryder and the Detroit
What
Wheels.
side of that was, right?
I'm trying to remember.
Keep a good man down.
That's right. But of course, Leo, you and Tom Turnipseed and Woody did another song in the 70s that had a clean version and a version you couldn't talk about. So what was the name of the clean version? Do you remember?
Dollar Gas, Kiss My Trash.
Yes.
We wrote that on the back porch of Woody's house one day. And quick story, we sang that on the Senate floor and over at the State House.
Which version?
And we also, the clean version, and then we also went to Washington, D.C. and sang it for Ted Kennedy in the Democratic National Club. And the lyrics to that song were in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the front page of the state newspaper. Anyhow, we got a lot of press out of that. I was just kind of hanging in there with it. Dollar Gas, Kiss My Trash. I just ain't going to pay. Dollar Gas, Kiss My Trash.
Yeah.
Ain't no way.
You know, the craziest thing about Woody's songs, I'm talking about I Can't Hide It Now. I actually got a request for I Can't Hide It by Woody about 2 months ago when I was on
No
there.
kidding.
Yeah, over at WUSC FM.
Wow.
By the way, the biggest majority of those 45s are at the bottom of Lake Murray because we went out there and used them as frisbees.
Oh, my. And remember Q-Burn, guys? Do you remember Q-Burn?
Oh, Columbia Records, the worst in America. And for people who don't understand radio, when you would put a 45 or an album on, you would have to do what's called queuing it. And to do it, you have to scratch it back and forth. And if you put a Columbia record on, like a Bob Dylan song, the second time you played it, it had Q-Burns, did it?
Oh, yeah. Especially if it had a soft beginning. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it started off, real blasting out, you could tell
Pick
it was
it up
there.
quick.
Yeah, pick it up quick. But otherwise, you'd be running that needle backwards on the track and leaving little scratches.
Simon and Garfunkel comes to mind.
Oh, do you remember there were actually two versions of Sounds of Silence? The first one came out, and it was all acoustic, and it was on a black label. And then they came out later with a red label version, which is the electric version of it. And Simon and Garfunkel
Did
weren't
not.
told about that. They didn't tell Simon and Garfunkel that they redid the thing with the drums. I understand Joe South was playing guitar on the electric version, but they weren't happy. But it made them who they are. Yeah. So.
I got a good one for you, Rick. You'll appreciate this.
Okay.
On April Fool's Day, you may or may not have been there, but I know you remember George Buck very well, and he was sight impaired. He wasn't blind, but he didn't see very well. So there was a way you could go into the WCOS AM studios, and you could patch the monitor that was playing on air and patch it out. And so what Woody did on April Fool's Day, he patched it in to where the offices were listening to something that wasn't on the air. So
Yeah.
Woody,
Oh yeah.
Woody just he starts using foul language and saying crazy stuff, and George Buck heard it while he was in his office and almost hurt himself getting over to the studio.
I was actually there because what Woody had me do was run board on the AM station while he was in the production studio messing around with the front office. That's the side of him a lot of people really don't appreciate, the jokester in Woody, because he was always pulling some kind of joke on somebody, So.
Yeah, there was a panel in the back of the studio, a plug-in.
Patch panel.
Patch panel.
Yeah.
And he came in one day and was doing one of his characters while I was on the air, and he started doing all these profanities. Just, blanking this and blanking that, blanking this and blanking that, and I was going freaking out. And what he had done was, for that time, he had pulled one of those out and plugged it into something else so it would sound like we were still on the air. And that definitely was a fun day.
Yeah. You remember when the transmitter was down on Edgewood Avenue where the football stadium is now off of Two Notch? And I remember one time we had a power hit at the transmitter. The transmitter went down, but we still had power at the studio. And people called up and said, "Well, you're off the air." And the transmitter's down. We'll be on the air soon. They said, "Well, go on the air and tell us when you're going to be back on."
Yes.
Radio. I miss being able to listen to the lightning and thunder, the static in your headphones when you're on the air. Do you miss it?
You miss it?
I miss it. I really do. That, to me, it sounded like this is real. Today, like Hunter will attest, we're not listening to the air signal anymore because of all the delays. So, it's really kind of strange.
Things have changed.
Things have changed.
And not necessarily for the better.
I think there's only one station in Columbia that still has a turntable in the master control. That's WSC. And they still occasionally play vinyl. But it's a little different.
Vinyl sounds better.
It does.
It does.
What do you play when you DJ down at the club, do you do vinyl or do you do
No,
files?
it's all files.
Yep.
Yeah. We do have a DJ that'll come in every once in a while, bring his turntables and do the whole thing. It's fun to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
Music just sounds better on vinyl.
Because it's analog all the way. There's still a group today that does recording in analog, mixing in analog, and then produces out on vinyl. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. I don't know if you remember them or not, but they're
do
still
not.
doing it that way. Well, we're reaching the end of our little memories of Woody. So do you have any final thoughts? Putting you on the spot here.
You are really putting me on the spot. No, all I can say is I just really miss him. I know a lot of people do. I still have people that message me almost daily
Yep.
about missing him.
I'm seeing all this stuff on Facebook, the people sending you stuff about your dad. Leo,
Well, I love when I play the radio, especially the WNOK stuff. I can understand why people actually got up in the morning to listen to the Wyndham Brothers because it was definitely worth listening to.
Leo, how about any final thoughts from you?
That's hard to say. I've got so many thoughts. I'm almost becoming emotional again. But how many thousands and thousands of kids in Columbia, South Carolina, grew up listening to Woody, and I bump into people my age. I'm 74 now, and I bump into just all the time people who say, "Yeah, I grew up listening to you and your brother on the radio," and that's just such a satisfying feeling. It really is to know that you would. My wife tells me that all the time. She said, "You have no idea what kind of effect you and your brother had on a lot of people." So that really makes me feel good, and that is all that Woody had ever wanted to do, was be on the radio and entertain people. And Jennifer, by the way, one of my favorite memories of Woody is him dancing with you and your mother and your sister.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, man,
I
that was
missed that.
fantastic.
Yeah, this picture.
To anybody out there listening, if you didn't know Woody personally, you missed out. But if you listened to him on the radio, you felt like you knew him personally. And good to talk to you folks too.
Yep. Okay, that's end of the tape. Leo, can you stay on the line? We're going to be picking up Rick Amy and do another podcast in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Or do you? Or do you want to have us? I can have Jennifer page you again and get you to reconnect. What do you want to do?
Yeah, you're going to do another podcast on what now?
WCOS. Just WCOS.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I tell you what, just tell Jennifer to call me back.
Okay.
Or I'll call you back.
I'll text you and let you know when to call.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay, so we're done with this podcast. I'm going to get off mic for a minute here, and Dave, if you go ahead and just package up that first tape or first file, and then we'll pick it up after we do the next one. So,
Are you going to be able to get 2 phone calls in?
yes,
Okay.
I checked with Dave before that we can get 2 phone calls and they can hear each other too, so that's good. Okay, so we're going to close mics down for a moment. All right.